Hello.
Oui, c'est là. Ou bien ça n'y est pas.
Professor Bologa.
Oui.
Hello. Hello, Professor Bologa. Can you hear us? Okay. Leon, you can hear me, right? Hello, Leon. Can you hear me?
Sir. We can hear you.
But hello, Professor Bologa. Leon is not responding. Can you hear us? He's young. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Right. So, Madam Maimuna, hello. Because we are not able to get connected to Madam Maimuna.
So she is muted.
But she should be able to hear us.
Yes. She can hear us.
Okay.
She will have to, ma'am will have to unmute herself and just have to respond.
I see.
So do you guys no camera?
Mr. Leon, I'm traveling, so
Oh my goodness.
yes, so I will have to switch off my camera.
Okay. So you are driving or not driving?
No, I'm not driving. I'm just.
Okay, that's fine. The safety is the most important.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we are going to wait for Dr. Bologo. Bologo Traore.
Yeah, I will just talk to Maria. For also, we can send message to Mr. Bhan.
Yeah.
How to the Dr. Banu Newpen?
Yes.
We are waiting for him, right?
Yes, we are waiting for him.
And Dr. Nicholas.
Dr. Nicole Bernex. Nicole. Hello, Professor Bologo. Hello. Can you hear us?
I don't know what happened. I don't heard you.
Oh, we can hear from you.
We can hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you. Maybe you can switch off and join again. You can quit and join again. Durga, can you?
C'est ça qui me fait même peur parce que je suis connectée.
Oh, we can
hear. Je n'entends pas ce que les autres disent. Je ne comprends pas.
Let her resolve.
Okay, no problem.
Durga, Durga, can
I'm
you
just
hear
trying
me?
to solve the issue of Dr. Nicole Burnett. She is also not able to join.
Okay, okay. All right, please do.
So the Dr. Palago, she's her her microphone is mute.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Microphone, she has to start it.
Okay, good, good.
I think she has a problem there. But Bhanu
Oh,
has
If you heard me, I don't know what happened. I listened nothing. I don't know what happened. I will try to reset my laptop.
yes,
Sorry.
yes,
okay,
yes,
please.
yes. Hello, Bhanu.
Hi,
Look at Leon. You look exactly like before. Absolutely.
you got a very beautiful earth. Very nice.
Oh yes, that's the beautiful earth behind me. It's quite early for me. And Raj, you're right. It's
Bit confusing for me. But
right.
8:30 is more comfortable in Chicago.
Electric lake.
Right, right. Also, also close down outside Beijing, around Beijing area. So they all renovated. So
Right.
good. Beijing is now have a blue. So nice.
Wow.
know.
Yeah, that's a great.
Raj, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm
Oh,
doing
good,
fine.
good.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm
Oh,
doing
good,
fine.
good.
You are not getting much involved in universities nowadays, but myself, I think you have been doing a great job with all this AI and knew your job of IT and communication and the water and IT and communication and the water and the hydrology. Great. World
Yeah, well, to do,
assessment code.
that's that's the part of the training.
Yeah, yeah. No, great job. How I think the launch was good, right?
The went very well. Yes, the launch went very well. In fact, like both the UN Women Executive Director and the UNICEF Executive Director, both of them are there. Other than that, the Foreign Minister of Tajikistan was there, and a bunch of other diplomats. I think it's if it is inside UN. Like whenever an ambassador doesn't find it something to do, he will go and attend one of these meetings. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. Yeah, I also the UN press briefing, so I also attended that. So that was good. So Leon, when are you coming to Paris next?
Uh, I hope that we have some bring some Chinese,
Oh yes, yes. Do do you have as maybe interns or
good. We need to have some opportunity.
Saying that I myself, I didn't heard anything. I will share my presentation to reset again.
Okay, we all can hear from you.
yes, we all can hear you.
Good morning, Dr. Anu. That's my
Yes,
first
sir.
time to meet you.
And I will share it with you, Durga. All right. So here I have
Yes.
Dr. Nicole Bernex. Good morning, Lima, Peru. So we have now, let's start. Yeah, I'm gonna give a chat message to Prof. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So let's hope that. I would like to tell them sorry for this delays, mainly because of the sea is almost settled, except our expert from Africa, and she has been very well. And if not, we will still manage it. People starting from the and Leon Shen. Then we have coming to moderate this session leader who will be I will be from Africa, Burkina Faso, and her name is in a center
I don't know what the issue might have. You, we can discuss and I will present and you will help me and if
this linking water with gender. Indian the ozone layer portrayed. Of the Nobel Peace Prize certificate. So that is quite a exciting things for me to possess it. But later on, I started a very innovative program of network of universities for experiential learning on sustainability. So it is not something which derives or gives the various lectures on sustainability, because that is being done by many of the experts who have done a great job. But what in practice one can do for sustainability, and that practice, what we can do in a campus. Because once we do that, then you are learned by doing it. And that is one of the long-term skilling that the students can use lifelong. And that we consider as a human capital for achieving the sustainability, achieving sustainable development goals, and of course the net zero by 2050 to 2070, wherever is we can have it. Now, the water issue is closely related to the climate, not only in terms of the impacts, but also in terms of supply of water. And this has been, though it is called as a World Water Day today, 22nd March. And thanks to all of you from Chicago, Beijing, Ouagadougou, and Lima, and of course from Pune in India, joining this kind of a global compact for the water. But I would call it World Life Day, because it's not just a water. The water is so closely connected with our life sciences and our practical life that we are doing, living every day. It is definitely World Life Day. And what we are talking about is that particular water is having an existential crisis. It's not just an emergency. It's we are at a cliff, and if you don't take any action and live with it, we are going to have a problem on that. As I said, I'm not a water expert, but I know the situation is so serious and the water issue is so closely related to the net zero issue that it is a time to talk about it. And particularly the theme this year is water and gender. Particularly, it is so explosive in global south, where most of the time for the women goes in accessing the water, maybe purifying the water, and trying to see that the water is given to her family well. And what we lose that, maybe they succeed in getting water, but the family loses the opportunity to get the other dimension of the woman, which is she is a great problem solver. She has given a birth to all of us, and that particular woman or mothers, they are important stakeholders in solving these issues of the water. But we must give them a platform, we must give them opportunity, and we should be able to use their potential properly. I stop here, and I will talk about our network as we go along in the university network and how it is going and dealing all over the world. It is a global movement called as a Smart Campus Cloud Network. But now I hand over to Bhanu. And let me introduce Bhanu in a couple of sentences. You can see his profile on the internet, but he is PhD in hydrology, and he has done a tremendous amount of work, not only in the water, but also related to information technology. And now he, along with the water, he handles the issue of AI and the digital divide and the digital competencies that we can use to solve the sustainability issues. He is in UNESCO, and he is also the advisor to our Green Thair Foundation, our NGO, and he is very passionate about engaging youth in solving the today's sustainability problems. Bhanu, I give it the floor to you, and we are very eager to listen to you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Raj. Will it be possible for Durga to show my slide? Because I have got about 13 slides, but what I will do is, as I go along, I will try to link today's theme with net zero concept, that you are promoting, Raz. The first thing is, I think today is World Water Day. So happy World Water Day, everyone. It is a privilege, and I work for an outfit, within UNESCO called World Water Assessment Program. I'm the process coordinator there, and it's my duty to publish, or it's our duty, a collective duty to publish a United Nations World Water Development Report that we publish on behalf of UN system as a whole. And this document that comes out primarily becomes the first thing, or the first source of information for the theme of any particular year's World Water Day. So this year's theme was water and gender. So this particular report is primarily distills the collective UN system-wide information and knowledge on water and gender, and that has been confined in about 150 odd pages. So it's a privilege to present this United Nations World Water Development Report, which is coordinated by UNESCO on behalf of UN Water. Next slide, please. This year's report reflects the collective effort of United Nations system. The slide, is not changing. Durga, can you move to the next slide? Is Durga there?
Durga, are you able to hear that? Yeah. Durga, are you there?
Can you do it, from your end? Because I did not, load my presentation in this iPad, because I'm using
Durga,
iPad.
Are you there? No, she's trying to do that. Yeah.
Okay. You can see my screen. It's there. Yeah. It was.
Yes. Go ahead. Second slide.
It's right now, we can see ourselves there.
Is it?
No, this is, I think, I'm not too sure, which slide, I'm asking you to go to the second slide, if possible.
So this seems to be the second slide, Banu.
No, this is not second slide.
That is a technical issue.
Yeah. Because all she has to do is just change the slide, because it'll be easier if we load all the slide in one place and maybe keep. Yes, this is the second slide. Thank you so much. But can you put it in the view mode? This is like a slide. Yes. No, this is again. This is the third slide. Can you go to the second slide, please?
This is the second one.
No, this is not the second.
No, earlier one. I think the earlier two
this
look
is the
similar.
second one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. In fact, this slide is extremely important because 12 UN agencies have led different chapters of this edition. And the report includes contribution from 44 different UN water members and partners, making it one of the most comprehensive global assessment on water and gender equality. For the first time, this report has also been translated into 3 Mayan languages, an important step toward making the UN system-wide knowledge as inclusive and accessible to different communities around the world. And I also take this opportunity to acknowledge with appreciation the continued support of government of Italy to UNESCO, because that is primarily providing all the resources to keep a World Water Assessment Program functioning. This year's theme is especially important because it reminds us that water is not only a resource issue, it is also an issue of rights, participation, opportunity, and justice. And this is where universities matter deeply. Let me just link whatever this theme is with the universities are the theme that you promote, Raz, from your end. Universities train hydrologists. Universities train engineers, economists, planners, decision makers who will shape the future of water. They generate evidence, test innovation, and increasingly act as convener between science, policy, and society. Yet women remain underrepresented across the scientific pipeline. It's quite saddened if you read one of our earlier report. UNESCO reports that only 35% of the STEM graduate, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics graduates worldwide are women, and women account for only about 1/3 of researchers globally. So that gap matters for water because a sector facing climate stress and governance complexity cannot afford to exclude talent. So this report is not only a call to government, but it is also a call to universities. And I would add here that to SCC and partners. So let me begin, therefore, with a broader context. Can you go to the third slide, please? Anyways, I'm not too sure why the slide is barely changing. Durga, are you there? Because it looks like your computer sleeps.
The slides are changing from my end. I have no idea why it is not.
No, it's I can't see it. So if this is for me, I think, and unfortunately, it will happen for other colleagues as well. So just. Anyways, let me just continue. Perhaps, Durga will be able to show it. So this is the third slide. Thank you so much. So the global water crisis remains, extremely profound. Today, 2.1 billion people still lack safely managed drinking water. 3 billion people lack managed sanitation, and 1.7 billion people lack basic hygiene services at home. At the same time, water resources themselves are under increasing stress. At least 4 billion people experience severe water scarcity at least 1 month each year. While climate change is intensifying droughts, floods, and other hydrological extreme, which is also happening. This is where the concept of net zero becomes relevant to the masses of this year's report. At first glance, net zero seems like an energy or climate concept, but in reality, it has direct relevance to water inequality. But why is that? Because the failure to reduce emission is already destabilizing the hydrological cycle. Climate change is making rainfall more erratic, intensifying floods and drought, and altering snow melt and glacier system, and increasing the frequency of water-related shocks. The IPCC, which Raj just mentioned very profoundly. The IPCC has made clear that climate-induced water scarcity and supply disruption disproportionately affect women and girls, especially where they already carry responsibility for water collection and caregiving. But there is another side to it. The transition to net zero must itself be designed carefully. Clean energy system, critical mineral, cooling system, because we are talking about green data centers, hydrogen production and industrial transformation, all have water implications. For example, electrolysis for green hydrogen requires water as a feedstock. Roughly 9 liters of water is required per kilogram of hydrogen on a simple basis, and often more in practice when purification will involve cooling as well. So this does not mean the transition should slow down, but it means the transition must be water smart, place-based, and equity aware, because this has got implication across the scale and sector. For university, this is a major frontier to work. Students today are not only asking how to reach net zero, but they're also asking a more mature question: net zero for whom, where, and at what social cost or co-benefit. This is precisely why this report matters, and it helps connect climate ambition, water security, and social justice in one framework. And one of the strongest messages of this report is this: water inequality is not gender neutral. Can you go to the next slide, please? So across the world, 1.8 billion people live in households without water on premise. In these households, women and girls are responsible for collecting water in about 70% of the cases. As a result, women and girls spend an estimated 250 million hours every single day collecting water. If you calculate the time value and convert it into a dollar value, that actually comes to about 18 billion or 180 billion dollars, per year of wastage or the contribution that women make in just collecting water. So this is a major thing. So this burden begins very early. Quite interestingly, girls under the age of 15 are increasingly more likely than boys to be responsible for water collection. And even girls between the ages of 5 to 8 or 5 to 9 already spend more time than boys on unpaid domestic work. The consequences extend far beyond inconvenience. This affects schools attendance, school affects study time, it affects safety, health, and future opportunity. For a university audience, this means the meaning is very clear. The distance between a water source and a home can save the distance between a girl and her education. Time poverty today can become opportunity, poverty tomorrow. When we discuss equal rights and opportunities in water, we are also discussing who gets to remain in school, who gets to enter science, who gets to innovate, and who gets to lead. So there is a very profound implication that this report speaks that has a direct bearing on university and who teaches and who gets education at university. Next slide, please. But what does inequality mean in practice? time spent collecting water reduces opportunities for education. Maybe that will also impact the participation in public life. It also exposes women and girls to physical strain because I think many of you may know that in different parts of the world the backache on the part of women is increasing like anything. Durga, did you change the slide? Again, you have to get anyways, across major sector, the pattern is becoming equally clear. For example, in agriculture, women continues to face unequal land rights and insecure tenure, which weakens their control over productive water resources. FAO and UN Women data continues to show that women are less likely than men to own or hold secure rights over agricultural land, and globally less than 20% of landowners are women. So if you do not own land, you also don't have anything to do as far as, like asking for a household connection, for example, or, securing a water supply for yourself. So in the water workforce, women remain underrepresented. Available data compiled by World Bank and ECHO in recent UNESCO reporting shows that in many contexts, fewer than 1 in 5 utility workers are women. So it's 1 in 5, just 20% of water utility workers are women. And yet the evidence increasingly shows that when women participate meaningfully in water governance, projects become more sustainable, services become more responsive, and institutions become more trusted and resilient. For students, perhaps the simplest way to say this is water is not about pipes and pumps. It is about power and participation. So if there is a possibility to show slide 5, but it looks like this is becoming a bit of an issue. Let me just try to do it at my end, if that is a possibility. Can I do it? Because Durga's
slides are changing
computer
from my end.
But we cannot see it,
I'm just
because
following
you
the
have,
slides that you are saying.
yeah, you have not shared your slide yet. Perhaps, this is one of the reasons, why.
So from my side, this is shared.
Yes, now we
I
can
can see the
see,
screen that is shared. My screen is shared.
but I'm not too sure why this is not working.
Yeah, maybe the Wi-Fi is not strong, network is not strong. That may be the issue. Banu, would you be able to show it from your side?
I'm just trying to do that.
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
I will try to do that. Perhaps like what I will do is I'll move from this one to let's just do this.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to go and changing the let me just try doing it. Sorry about that, colleagues, because
no, I think it's a question of organizational issue. We
right.
probably could have kept the. Yeah,
can you see it? Can you see my slide?
We can see. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I was here. Let me just put it in this version. Oh, okay. This is, here we are. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. In fact, I was telling you that the evidence, essentially, increasingly show that when women participate more meaningfully, the project becomes, much more sustainable and meaningful. The other aspect, that this report has included is also provided some regional perspective. And it essentially talks about sub-Saharan Africa. In sub-Saharan Africa, unsafe water, inadequate sanitation, and poor hygiene remains major public health challenge. WHO Africa notes that diseases linked to poor sanitation, poor hygiene, and contaminated water continue to extract a severe human toll, with about 115 deaths every hours in Africa. This is a tremendous amount of, a human impact that poor quality that is supplied in Africa brings to African colleagues. Here, improving water access is not a service delivery issue. It is a public health intervention and education intervention and equality intervention at all count. If you move to closer to home, Asia and Pacific, Asia and Pacific, is one of the world's most climate vulnerable region, where floods, drought, glacier change, and extreme weather impacts everyone. UNESCAP and UN Women have both emphasized that climate change in the region is increasing exposure to water-related risk, and that water often face and women often face disproportionate impact because pre-existing inequalities shape access to assets, information, mobility, and decision-making. So this is a very sad state of affair. For universities in the region, the challenge is not only to study climate impact, but to train a generation capable of linking cryospheric science, hydrology, governance, and social inclusion. So this is an extremely important thing, or area of study that SCCN can propagate and in Asia and Pacific. Let's move to Latin America and Caribbean. I think a colleague is there from Peru. In Latin America and Caribbean, the report shows the legal and policy commitments to gender equality are often more advanced than implementation on the ground. So the legal system exists, governance system exists, but unfortunately it is yet to be properly implemented. So there is a major thing. So this is a useful reminder that reform is not only about passing better policies, it is also about changing institutions so that participation becomes meaningful, resourced, as well as it is sustained on the ground. So I think again, call to universities in Latin America is exactly that. Please develop tools and mechanism that somehow translate the policies that have been created at the broader level to at the implementation. So this is one thing that I suggest. For Arab region is exactly the same. In Arab region, there are more women going in and taking hydrology courses than men. But unfortunately, this training and capacity building has empowered women, but their activities are yet not properly recognized on the ground. So this is again, there is a disconnect. One of the other very important thing is, even in a very developed country, unfortunately, the situation is equally serious, in the sense that development alone does not automatically produce equality. So this is one very strong message that comes from Europe. Moving on, this report also provides several response options. And this response options, the first one is to bring water closer to household. If you bring water close to household, the time poverty and then the burden on women gets freed. So this is one of the things. The second thing is to ensure women's meaningful participation in water governance is extremely important. And one of the major issue that this report talks about is to develop sex disaggregated data collection, not only in the from the planning of a new project, but at the same time, for the implementation as well. So this is extremely important. One of the third, very interesting response that this report comes out is expanding opportunities for women in water workforce is important. So it's not only to train women, but also give them a proper space in the work stream. So that is extremely important. And fourth, which is not there, this is the point, that I want to add is to, it's important in the light of net zero transition climate and energy transition must be water smart and gender responsive. So water smart and gender responsive is the thing. So there are several other things, that universities can do. But in closing, what I would say is this report has a very profound, message, that has provided, and you can download this report, from the link that I will share in a minute. When water system fails, it's often women and girls who bear the greatest burden. So they take point in that one. When girls no longer spend hours collecting water, their school attendance improves. So take note of that. If women gain access to land and water rights, the water security of household, that improves. And women participate in decision making, water institutions become much more responsive and powerful. But this is absolutely true. But there is a major thing. Talking about this thing is quite easy, but sustaining the hype that we have created in today's, World Water Day, sustaining it, like in the days to come will become extremely important. So I invite all of you to take note that it is also that when equality grows, water governance becomes more wiser. It's not only that, when water flows, equality grows, but at the same time, when equality grows, water governance becomes wiser, stronger, and more resilient. Thank you so much. Over to you, Raz.
Thank you, Banu. Are you able to hear?
Yes.
Good. I think when water flows, equity grows, but at the same time, women also grow. So I think very strong message and excellent work on United Nations World Water Development Report. And congratulations for launching it successfully. Once more, all kudos go to you and your team, Banu. Thank you very much. And it did open up a new channel. Maybe I can call it a 50% channel, which we neglected. That is the kind of potential we have. And we only looked at only other 50% and didn't understand the remaining one, which actually will make the water flow. Of course, Banu, the question also is, water will flow provided there is a water. And now that is the question that we have been asking to, for example, in a global south, where there is a lack of water. Of course, you did mention to us that women play a part in making sure that water is also available. And that is because of the optimal use of it and making sure that there is adequate storage of it. And here comes Professor Nicole Bernex. She is from Andes Mountains, the glaciers, and she's also surrounded by today's exploitation of natural resources, that is mines. So is the water, mines, Andes, mountain communities is all combined into one. And it's a great that she is known as a great geographer first and then a water specialist, as well as the sustainability solutions specialist later on. So let's listen to Nicole. We are slightly running behind the schedule, but Banu, again, I want to tell you that your presentation was one of the excellent to start with. And emphasis on women is something message, is not only the message, is something which can be acted upon. And followed by you, a presentation by male, we have the presentation by the female now, if I can make it slightly lighter ones. So Nicole, Professor Nicole, just go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajendra. It's an honor for me to be here with you today and with UNESCO colleagues from India, China, and Burkina Faso. I will put like that. Water is indispensable for the existence of every being. Water is dignity. lack of drinking water, lack of sanitation, and open-air defecation are not dignity. The 2026 World Water Days focuses on water and gender. Where water flows, equality grows. Such a dream. I was all this day, and I am actually thinking, to the world's largest river, crossing over more than 8 countries and 7,000 kilometers through South America. It's why I organized the contents like that in 4 parts. Why does the context matter? What are the threats? How small and bold steps strengthen applied research and change communities, teachers' network, and students in our universities and outside. And now we all know, after the experience, the hardest one, that the dream is possible. Where water grows, where water flows, equality grows. First, why does the context matter? Context is multidimensional, is very huge. So huge as our Amazon territory. The Peruvian Amazon is 41% of the territory of the 4 Andean Amazons country, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. And Peruvian Amazon is a very, very huge water basins. Amazon drainage basins hold 20% of Earth's fresh water. Amazon's discharge exceeds the combined flow of the next 7 largest rivers. About 50% of rainfall in the Amazon region is recycled water. Deforestation disrupts this process, reducing the amount of recycled water and affecting the availability of fresh water. Forests, like a giant sponge, absorb rain and return much of it to the atmosphere. They also capture CO2. In the Peruvian, you may see here here it's the 3rd largest carbon reserve in the world, storing more than 6,700 million tons of carbon, more or less all the emission of all the cars and trucks all over the world in 1 year. But also, this dynamic affects Amazon water cycle very hardly. Countries of the Andean community of nations have about 18,000 Amazonian localities, of which more than 12,000 belong to Peru. Of those, more than 10,000, nearly 11,000 have from 1 to 500 inhabitants. So it's very, very difficult to go up to each place. These localities are usually indigenous localities with a very huge ancestral knowledge, but very limited access. If you want to go from Iquitos to Gepi, which is just in the frontier of Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru, you have to spend 242 hours. And if you want to go to El Estrecho in Putumayo province, is 1 hour, 96 hours. This very limited access accelerates gaps. And growing urbanization, but the poorest urbanization is generally very common with all the social and economics gaps. So what are the threats? Deforestation and clearing of plant cover causing soil loss and erosion, reduce biodiversity and sedimentation in the rivers, change in the hydrologic cycle associated with changes in the global climate and exacerbated by the alteration of the Amazonian forests due to the fires and the drought. Water pollution results mainly from the highly use of pesticides, increasing very high increasing of illicit crops, throwing away of solid wastes, and inadequate water use and wastewater areas. A very degraded scenery with less and less biodiversity. Facing that, indigenous organizations claim for water tanks, wells, cesspools, septic tanks in their villages. Indigenous organizations have to face also a lot of criminal activities. Illegal gold mining, illegal wood traffic, illegal wildlife trade, trafficking of women and young girls. And at the same time, the increasing water and food insecurity with all the ecosystem of health and education problems. Poverty and extreme poverty is increasing. More than 70% of people in Amazonian rural areas. It's why we start last year with a water program of the Inter-American Network of Academies of Science, IANAS, the project Management of Water, Forests and Sand in the Amazons, Security for Ecosystem and Human Health. But we could not do alone. We have to find a way to do that. And is the third part, how small and bold steps strengthen applied research, change communities, rural communities, when we put both together, and change teachers' network and students itself. So what to do? Is it possible to find a new way of doing things? Is it possible to imagine integrated our university's campus in a very, very integrated applied research action to contribute changing the actual scenery? This is Smart Campus Cloud Network. Well, see, we start conversation in October 2024, only conversation, with a network, which is Fei Alegria Network, with 17 rural primary school, 5 secondary college, rural ones, and 1 technical institute. And we start with the idea deforestation with sand mining is less water, destroying the water cycle, less energy, less food, but also water-related diseases, impacts on education, very severe one, and life, open air defecation, which, for example, in the district of Cahuapanas, we have more than 94%, nearly 100%. In Andoas, the petroleum city district, we have 85%, and I will not, for time, say more. So we have done step by step in February, and for personal thing, only one graduate student from Geography and Environment from PUCP was starting thinking and to that with a rural network from FE Alegria. Between March and July, they were working a lot with a installation of thermometers and rain gauges in secondary school and in one school in a national park, training the teachers for that, but also including the same communities. In August, in the big National Congress of Geography and International Geography Congress of the Americas, we have the presentation of the first result. In October 2025, the workshop of scientists around the management of waters, forests, and sand in the Amazons, security for ecosystem and human health, a training of the scientific team, and writing the first basic document. Between January and February this year, during 15 days, interdisciplinary fieldwork with 8 graduate students and 2 undergraduates, information gathering with very, very important data with GIS, with LIDAR, drones, and so on, and analysis, but very close to the community. And finally, early March, a workshop with FE and Alegria teachers, socializing 2 booklets done by students, leading by 2 women students, the Amazonian water cycle and climate change. We'll see very quickly. First step, awareness of climate change. With Luciana is the woman student starting that and putting that, explain, training communities, teacher, and so on, and collecting each month in Excel all the data. Then you see also 2 schools, characterization of the school context, situation, and so on. We have a lot of data. In the Congress, outcome of the roundtable and interrelation sand construction in the context of climate change, deforestation very high, white sand, and sand is a second natural resource degraded after the water, and water and biodiversity loss, but also that 74% of housing is precarious in Iquitos, and there's a very high demand for sand. Solution is culture of territory, not to be close to the community, to work with community. The theoretical part in the university, but the practical one with the community in the same area. Interdisciplinary research between faculties and between university on ecosystem health and human health. When we have the scientist workshop in
Nicole, excuse me.
Yes.
We have just about 10 minutes for you. We have
Yes,
crossed
I
it.
just
your
2 minutes more.
presentation, yeah, your presentation has been extremely useful because of the practical nature of it and the projects that you are doing. But yeah, we
what
have a
is
limited
possible.
time.
No,
Yeah.
the dream is possible, yes, and it's possible to be reality. You see, from 1 to 51, 3 weeks ago, and you see how when it starts, 2 people and then a bigger ecosystem and step by step, but also country by country joining us, not only students, field school, which is very important, and training also, which is indispensable. Means it's a sequence from two people to an international academic network and inspiring in smart campus cloud network. They are very interesting in because they know that developing students' talents for the community is the key of development. And where there is water, it's really impossible not to get equality if we are working together. Thanks to everyone, to Yanas, Professor Catherine Vamen, to Puk, my colleague and student from National University of Peruvian Amazon, especially Dr. David Urquiza, Dr. Roxane Rivas, Dr. Luis Campos, everyone, students, very impressive students, all the red, which are actually 114 teachers. And we start also with National University of La Molina, which is Agrarian University. Thanks to all of them and to you, Dr. Rajendra Shende. And it's all. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful one, which definitely gives the practical example how when universities are involved, when schools are involved, how the movement can grow. There is no doubt about it. It has grown from just the roots and then made into not only national but international way. Lot to learn from it, considering that today the international scenario is not that cooperative and conflicts are going on. Whereas as against that, we see that this is a great example of working together. There's a lot of things that we can follow up, Nicole, on this. And thanks for bringing it to us. I think it's worth making a separate case study on this. And that could be one of the probably the outcome of this event, that we will make the good case study out of this. I have now Burkina Faso, Africa, Professor Miamuni Bogola. And again, after Nicole Bernex, she is also the water expert. But what more, Bhanu, this is going to be absolutely interesting that she has studied water and gender angle. And she probably has the very good way of explaining how the equality really grows and how the water really flows. She belongs to the university in Burkina Faso, 2IA, and I'll leave it to her to explain to that. Go ahead, Professor Bologo.
Okay. Thank you, dear Dr. Rajendra. Thank you for giving me the floor. Good afternoon, and good evening, distinguished guests. Water is often presented as a technical issues, such as pipes, infrastructure, and investment. But today, I invite you to see it differently. Water is a question of justice, dignity, and development. What does it mean? It means that when you take the global reality, we have 2.2 billion people still lack of safe water. 700 million people remain without basic services. And these are not just a number, they present daily struggle, especially across Africa. And we are talking about the inequality about water sharing and access. Poor pay 5 to 10 more than people who are means. And when you take the example, for example, of Burkina Faso, we can say that 3.2 million people access water, and vulnerability is strong in the rural area. And when you take the case of women and girls, often they walk several kilometers daily to fetch water. During the dry season, boreholes may fail and access becomes even more difficult. This affects health, education, and economic productivity. Water access here is shaped by geography, climate, and poverty. That is a gender dimension. And UN Women show that women are most affected by the situation because they are time poverty. Also, this situation can have a specific inequity also with gender issue because across Africa, women and girls bear primary responsibility to water collection. This leads to time poverty, as I said before, reduced school attendance, and long-term inequality. But also, they affect the health because linked to the Sustainable Goal Development Point 3, lack of safe water directly affects health. Where waterborne disease remain a major cause of illness and child mortality. So water equity is not only about access, it's about survival. And we can talk about also the economic impact. That means loss of productivity. We are here told agriculture struggle, economic downturn, and social tensions. And particularly about development link, we can say that there is also a strong economic dimension. As I say, time spent collecting water is time not spent in school, at work, or building livelihoods. This translates into lost productivity in both household and national levels. For that reason, what kind of solution can we propose? The solution is to build strong infrastructure. It's also a problem of governance. When I take the example of infrastructure, we can say that expand rural water systems and invest in solar powered solution. For the governance, we need a strength institution includes communities in decision making. And for climate resilience, we adapt to throw, improve water storage and management, and importantly, target the most vulnerability. For African campus specifically, we can promote the decentralization water system like boreholes and solar powered pumping that we have the continuous supply even without installed electricity. We have also the rainwater harvesting. That means that rooftop collection like classroom, dormitories, and storage basic filtration system. This water can use, for example, in toilet, irrigation, and cleaning. That is an example, but we can have another one's example, but I think that because time is short, we can stop for this example. And now we can call us what can be the call to action. We have 3 points, for example, specifically for Africa. We have invest, include, and innovate. Where we have, for example, in the PowerPoint, we share the image of African Water Vision for 263 and policy. And the strong closing message is so clear. We must invest in equitable systems, include marginalized populations, innovate for climate resilience. Water equity must be at the center of development policy. At least we need to remind that water equity means that dignity, justice, and development. And achieving is essential for African future. Thank you for your attention. I think that the same is okay for me.
Thank you,
I'm finished.
Professor Bogola. Thank you very much. I think that was not only within the time, but it is also within what is called as a real theme of this particular event. The theme is not only the water. I think the theme is a dignity associated with the water, the inclusiveness associated with water, inclusion associated with the water, and the innovation associated with the water. I think you put it very well. And I think a lot of thoughts come in my mind when I listen to you as well as Professor Nicole. And it just came to my mind that our speaker list is also gender balanced. And I see a lot of interesting ideas coming from women after presentation by Bhanu on the UN World Water Development Report. So I think it is getting into the very interesting dialogue and the suggestions which come to our mind. Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
now, okay, welcome. And now I come to the largest country in the world in terms of not only the population I'm talking about, but in terms of technology, in terms of the potential of the youth, and that is China. So, Mr. Zhang Yingxia, I invite you to give the presentation, and let me give some quick information about Mr. Zhang. He is extremely submerged in the water right from beginning. When I say that not only he has managed the water, but he has really innovated in the water. And he has selected the area which is called as a urban challenges of China water industry. We all are engrossed in a rural challenges, mainly because most of the countries, global south, the majority of population lives in the rural area. But China is changing very fast. They were predominantly in rural, but now they are getting urbanized. And that transition is extremely important to understand what effect on that. So we are so fortunate to have Mr. Zhang today from China, who has a hands-on experience in a water industry and hands-on experience on urban challenges of water. So I invite Mr. Zhang to go ahead with his presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Sandy. And good morning and good evening, every guest. Yeah, I'm in Zhang. I come from China, Beijing. It's my very honor to gather with you and talk about the water issue. Yeah, today is very important to the water, everything on the water job, like a water engineer, like a water professor, and water manufacturer and the water industry, everything. Yeah, the UN from 34 years ago built up the World Water Day, that program. Yeah, every year. To this year is the 34 World Water Day, and every World Water Day in China, the Ministry of Water Resource, the hold China Water Week. That event, yes, every city and every town, the water jobs guy, the celebration the water issue and education the water technology to the people and the children and the women. Yeah, today is very busy in China to the water industry person. Yeah. Today my speech is China water industry urban challenges. I want to talk maybe 4-point issue. The one is the water resource situation in China. You know, the China, many people. So the China, the water resource is limited. Merely 6% of global fresh water resource will sustaining nearly 20% of water population and generating over 18 of global economic output. That's not very easy. That's recent 40 years. The every year change, every year update. So today the China economically is good, but the water resource is not changing. Very, very limited. And recent years, China very fast, rapid urbanization development. In just 4 decades, China's urban population surged from urban 20% to over 66%, with approximately 13 million people migrating to cities annually. Sorry. I need.
Yes, we lost the presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's here.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And the second point, the urban water infrastructure. China, the cities grows. 40 years ago, maybe in China, only 20 cities, 200 cities. And now in China, more than 600 cities. And other small cities, nearly 40,000. So I'll give some number. Some of the number is the water supply plants, more than 4,000 in China. Urban water supply penetration, more than 98%. That's not very easy. Early in China, some citizen people can't get the tap water. And the government investment a lot. So today in cities, every people, nearly 100%, can get the water supply. Daily water supply capacity, more than 400 million cubic meters. Number of sewage treatment plants, more than 5,000. The sewage treatment did not only treatment the wastewater, also when the rain days, the flooding and the rainwater treatment. Urban sewage treatment rate, more than 85%. Number of the climate water plants, more than 3,000. In China, the water resource is limited. So every city, the government let the cities, the governor must investment, the deep treatment of sewage, and make the water reclamation to the system, so can make the city sustainable. Look like the Singaporean new water. Singapore new water is, in China, many cities use the new water technology. The three point is engineering solution. I just told the number. The number is not very easy. To China, every city use the engineering solution. Yes, the government, put a lot of money. The first very important from this year, this year to China is the 55 planning, the beginning years. This year, the government put the new plan for the national water network. This idea is very useful, but needed to put a lot of money. So the economical, yes, on the water industry, so a lot. And the second is the sponge city. From 2050 years, 2050 years, China just beginning sponge city, to build up the sponge city. Look like America LID, look like European SUDS, Sustainable Water Design, and Australia WSUD, Water Sensitive Urban Design. That's very useful. In China, the north, the water resource limited, very limited. So when they run time, the government, like the cities, must save the rainwater, use the water resource. In the coastal area, recent year built a lot of the seawater desalination. Look like the Middle East country. And recent year, every city needed to pipeline network repaired, rebuild up. They can keep the water system high quality. That's very important issue. The fifth method is to investment and to do some siphon water project from water supply system and the drainage system. In the factory or in home, every family, they need to save water. The sixth is flood control. The flood control in China, the summer times, every city, recently year, the climate change, the north and the south, every city, the rainwater is a problem. So every city, they needed to do this job to control the flood. So finally, every city, the water system, build up the smart water system, use the AI technology, monitoring on the water treatment plant and pipeline system. So the engineering solutions can make every city in China, the water supply is enough, and every city's the wastewater be treatment, become cleaning, reuse to some cooling system and clean system. The fourth conclusion Yeah, where water flows, equality grows. This is the main theme of this year's World Water Days. So this picture is this year in China, China World, yeah, March 22, yeah. This picture in today in China, every city, the water department hold some event to together student and the citizen people, they get to know the new achievement of the local water system. Yeah. So recent year, the government decided the water system belong to the every city's infrastructure. So they needed a lot of people to talk about, to discuss with some the officer, the engineer, and the professor to make good decision, right? Allow the student and the women to join the team to discuss the water issue. It's very important. Then integrated solution framework, that's very, very important. Yeah. Before the China to solve the water problem, sometimes take care of the water supply and sometimes take up the flood. But recent year, the change the mind must integrate solution to balance the water resource and water use and sustainable for the future. So that's very, very important. So recent year, the China want make every city on the water sector make a resilience system. That's very, very new method on the water sector jobs. So I hope invite every speak come to China. Maybe some days we can discuss and to visit some local water engineering project. We can talk about it deeply. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhang.
Yeah.
Very precise, in time, and I did not imagine that the country like China, which has a massive problems, can also have massive solutions. But at the same time, there are people like you who can, in a very concise way, tell what exactly the real issue is. And you also give the engineering solutions, which is the word which I do not like much, because I think when you talk about engineering solutions, you had in fact a series of what is called as a digital solutions, nature solutions, and it also has some kind of an man-made frugal innovations where we can spend less money but do many more things. So I think it is an engineering solution, but along with that, we have a digital solutions and we have a nature solutions. And I think China has learned a lot from the nature. So thank you very much. I think we are very fortunate on a World Water Day. I don't think there is any other forum in the world, any other platform where we heard about a massive problem issues from China, also the massive problems from the country like Burkina Faso, which is the smallest one, and the one from Lima, Peru, which is closest to the lung of the planet, the forest of the planet. which would not exist without water. So I think a varied group of speeches, and I'm very happy about it. And it was led by World Water Development Report, the assessment of that. And Bhanu was there at that time. Bhanu had really coordinated this project very well. So I'm very happy that we could give the diverse views, diverse suggestions, but yes, we had only one aim: let water flow and the equality grow. And I think all of us have really agreed to that kind of a theme by saying what way we can go towards that. We didn't just accept the theme. We said that this is the way we should do so that the purpose of the theme is fulfilled. I have now Bhanu on a screen. He has been listening to us very carefully. And I have received about 10 questions. And I don't know how we should go one by one, but I will club them together. Not all of them, but make into 2-3 interesting questions. So the first question I would like to ask to Mr. Zhang.
Yeah.
And the question is, yes, China has changed from the rural to urban. And now you are finding the engineering solutions for the water, knowing that most of the population is in urban area. Didn't you think at the time of such transformation from rural to urban, that water issues should also be solved? Or you came to know about the water issue after the urbanization has taken place?
Pardon?
Well, the question is, there is a transformation from rural to urban, right?
Yeah.
Now, when the transformation was taking place, in the beginning of transformation, did China think about the engineering solutions for water? Or you started thinking when you started getting the problem of water? That is a question.
陈总，你帮我翻译一下。
他刚才问的问题呢，就是这个您刚才说的各种工程措施啊，这个来这个进行这个水的这个管理、供应和处理，那么是在这个城镇化开始之前，还是城镇化开始以后才做的？那么城镇化开始之前，原来我们在工程措施啊、水利设施啊、供水设施做了没
？Okay, yeah, sorry. When the citizen built up first in that time, the government didn't, the economical is limited. So some of the water engineering, they used the low level, not good quality, not only the low level to do some issue. And step by step, I think that's not a very good way. But the government, when the beginning of the developing, the government, the money, the investment is limited. So they tend to do the high level engineering on the water system. So recent year, the central government announcement, we must do high quality water system. But recent year, all the global economic is not good. China also. So the local water engineering can't get enough money. Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think Leon is my good friend for last more than 20 years. And he translated the question so well that you gave a very frank answer, which is good. And I'm sure probably Bhanu is thinking that urban to rural to urban transformation is taking place in a number of global south countries. And your experience, your barriers, your way of going and better way of going ahead could be useful for global south. So documenting those kind of experiences of what China faced could be useful for the countries like Peru, Burkina Faso, and many other global south countries. My next question is related to Bhanu, and let me read out the question. Number one is, it says that women spend 250 million hours daily collecting water. That's what Bhanu's slide said. So what do you think? Did the development report, water assessment development report, whether they found that what is its equivalent to the loss of economic value to the world?
I think, I already said, the economic value loss, if you put it in annual term, and if you just say regard, like per hour of women's productive, say, like activity is valued at $2, that will result into 180 billion US dollar per year. So women are spending $180 billion worth of their time in collecting water from the source. That's one. This 250 million, like that actually translates to 180 billion US dollars. So this is a tremendous amount. So think about, even if we manage to halve it by, say, 125 million hours, that means the government will immediately gain $90 billion worth of resources, which that women can channel into productive uses. They can channel for the family. They can channel it to better their institution, better their home, and so forth. So think about, and the opportunity like benefit of that one will be much higher. Right now, they're simply going and collecting water. Think about it, if they can utilize this time into education, the value that the government will gain will be tremendous. So I think something must need to be done there.
Good. Thank you very much. The next question is to Professor Bologo. And you come from Burkina Faso, and you mentioned a very good equation in your speech, which said water equity is equal to dignity plus justice plus development. Knowing your own experience when you were getting educated in Burkina Faso, I believe you were getting educated in Burkina Faso, what part of that equity, the dignity, justice, and development, you felt it was lost? And has it improved now, or it is still there? I don't know whether it's a complicated question, but I try to, whatever is sent to me, I'm trying to simplify it. Please. No, you are mute. Professor Bologo, you are mute.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I say that we can say that the system is improved, because since many years now we have a national program of water and water supply and sanitation, and this program helped to improve the access of water and sanitation in urban and also in a rural area. But unfortunately, as you know, we are facing security issue. We have to fight with terrorism attacks, and sometimes this kind of situation have an impact on what we are doing for the development. But the government is still going to do something, fight for the attack, but at the same time, continuing to fight for people in order that everybody can have the access of water. It's really improved. Because when you take maybe something like 10 or 30 years ago, and now the system is more interesting. But at the same time, we know that during the dry season like now, we have to face with cutting of water because the dry season is very heavy and the demand is very high, and sometimes the supply water is not evident. But globally, we can say that the system has been improved. Thank you very much.
Well, that is a very good, I think, based on your own experience, you explained it, which is, I appreciate it well. And then it gets bounced to Mr. Bhanu. I know I'm also from I was in United Nations, but did you, while making this report, development report, did you get any time a feeling that like we had a number of funds? We had for example, we had a multilateral ozone fund to save the ozone layer. We have now the Green Climate Fund, and that is also working. We don't know whether it's working efficiently or should be more efficient. That is another thing. But do you think, or does it exist, and whether UNESCO has floated such idea of creating a global water fund for helping the countries in a global south, like Burkina Faso?
Very good question.
Quite interesting. The real issue is not about, we don't have money. The money is there. But how the money gets channeled is a big question. I'll give you some ballpark figure that, if in 2022, the global investment in water infrastructure was about, 300 billion per year. But the estimated annual financing gap is about $700 billion. So look at this. It's not that, we don't have money. It's $300 billion is still going in water sector. But unfortunately, the financing gap is about $700 billion. And then it's not that the fund manager or the sources of fund gets the responsibility to implement the project. The implementation essentially is done by the government. So I think, again, here, the responsibility again lies with the government, how efficiently they are channeling this $300 billion, which is already available to be invested in water resources. So this is very interesting that the financing gap is there. But it's not that, fund is not coming. Every year, we actually made an estimate. The municipalities have, in fact, unspent money. And this is pretty much juxtaposed to the stormwater problem, stormwater drainage problem, water supply problem, leakage, and so forth. So these things are continually happening. But UN will, or any funding mechanism will not go and fix it themselves. They will ask the governments to mobilize, their functionaries or their facilities, their administration to somehow, address these issues, which are there, which unfortunately the government does not do the way, they are supposed to make it happen. So I think, there is the biggest thing is, and how to make the water supply and sanitation and other type of, say, infrastructure management in the government much more, say, effective and impactful. Give you a very simple example, like even in India, the annual, say, the percentage leakage that happens in municipal water supply is about 40%. Think about, if this 40% is somehow addressed, you will have 40% more water to be distributed to people. So a number of, things needs to be done. But I think, at some point, it's not essentially about money, but how efficiently the money gets spent in different, say sectors.
Right. I think very well put forward, Manu. And that leads us to the issue of skilling the university students in these issues. Because after all, these students will probably become the government people. These students will become what Dr. Zhang is doing in terms of urban management. And these are the students who will probably look at more closely on engineering solutions. So I think the university network working together and UNESCO leading it probably could be the way to go ahead. So it is not a finance problem. It is probably the way we are going to skill the future generation and awaken them for this grave problem of water. Thank you. Nicole, I will read out the next question, which seems to be addressed only to you, because you gave an example of the partnership of the schools and the universities. So the question is like this: what actions can youth and student youth take to support and promote water conservation in the campus, apart from what they are already doing? For example, there are all over the campus, there are boards, conserve the water, don't keep the water tap open, etc., etc. But are there anything which you struck by your observation that it is something which is essential in a campus to do it, which the students can transform it to the communities, from the campus to communities? And the question then goes further: how can we effectively reduce the gap in water security between urban area and the remote communities, for example, in Peru? So these are probably two separate questions, but they seem to have addressed only to you. You are on mute.
Thank you so much for your question. I think they are key questions. First, the students have to learn to, for example, to know that paper is water. Just one sheet of paper is 10 liters of water. And everything in the campus is water. But you have quantity, but also quality. We have a lot of laboratory. We have a lot of cafeteria, cafe work, Starbucks or anyway, in the campus. We have to learn not to throw away, to have, and here it's possible to have innovation for arts, for example, for chemical, for food, and so on. We have, its campus is a laboratory, and water is not only quantity, but also quality. And that in some campus now we have that in Peru step by step. But you don't have only to do something, you have to share that with the community. And not only with podcast and so many things we may do right now, but also in scientific paper, because a campus, as our campus, which is big in Peru, we are more than 30,000 students. So it's a large amount of water. Second, I think it's very important, this question, how to try to join rural and urban area, especially when we are thinking in remote community. In our project, through YANAS, through the Inter-American Network of Sciences Academy, one colleague from Canada will come over for 15 days in June. And we are thinking with Banu Ormesi and Catherine Vamen she will visit the campus in Amazonian. And she also, we are trying with biologists, with forestal engineers and other engineers to think about adapted biotreatment plants with all the plants, the different trees and others, vegetation, microphytas, no, of jungle. I think it's very important. It's not the urban system which we have to take away, because when you have so many localities, very small one and dispersed, innovation, technology, science is very important. We have to be closer and closer in our networks of universities and working between faculties, humanities, health, and engineering. We could not go ahead without one of them. Usually there's too many frontiers in universities in all over the world between engineers, humanities, and any science itself. And we have to build bridges. Only bridge may allow us to work together with community and also to take the ancestral knowledge of the community and combine it with modern results.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think the way you explained it showed a tremendous amount of thoughts that you have gone through while working with the universities, with the schools and communities that you have been doing all the time and learning from it. So we are almost at the end of the 2 hours, and I'm turning towards Bhanu. And I feel this was we had a difficulty in the beginning about technical matter, but let's for a temporarily forget about it. It went on very well, and such a kind of a diverse participation. And that diverse participation was not just throwing the words around, but based on figures, experience, and what is called as a potential to learn more from their experience. So what we can do it in the future. So I really personally, I found it extremely productive, intellectually useful. And one of my journalist friend had just written to me that he has been watching it. And he says that these days we only publish press releases and some kind of notes which are coming from anywhere, but he is going to make on his own the report on that. I hope that he makes it a good report on his own and doesn't criticize that anyway. So that gives me more satisfaction. So Bhanu, I'm trying to conclude it by saying that this is not going to be one-time exercise of coming together such a diverse field experts from the global south. We must utilize this. We must utilize Dr. Zhang's enthusiasm about serving the urban water, Nicole's expertise in helping the community, and Professor Bologo's enthusiasm about carrying out more developmental research and more thoughts in the universities. So I'm going to give it to you for talks, but want to give some suggestions in a very, what do you call it, running ahead of you in your thoughts. So number one is, we should ask some of the interns you talked about, and you said that interns could be available to Professor Bologo and others for working on it. We should ask some of these interns to do the case studies based on whatever we heard about it. And some of the best case studies can be awarded, can be just certificate, can be some monetary awards. We can talk about it and do it. That's number one. Another thing I feel is, we should also think about starting annual awards on water with universities. And those awards could be for engineering solution, for digital solutions, for the nature solutions, but done in the universities and measurable. How much water saved, or how much water was dignifiedly used, that kind of thing. That is the second suggestion. The third suggestion I feel is that we should start a research and probably give the fellowship to the students in the universities of water versus transformation. This rural to urban transformation. I mean, there is a saying that in an Oxford dictionary, in about 20 or 40 years, the word village will not exist. People will forget village. So that transformation taking place, what could be the impact on governance, economy, and the environment? And I think there should be such kind of an on-hand, ground level research done. And I think UNESCO, or even myself along with Leon Shen or Dr. Zhang, we can participate to promote such kind of fellowships in some of the universities. And lastly, I feel that the exchange of students, we are all in the global south in this way, but probably you can rope in some of the global north countries and start exchanging the students for carrying out a work in the campus on such and many other issues that World Water Development Report has pointed out, for which we need to do more research. So these kind of suggestions I want to make, but I'm sure, Banu, you will have more, and we are keen that this particular webinar doesn't remain 2-hour webinar, but it becomes 2 decades of work which is lined up. Probably I'm too ambitious, but you can correct me, Banu. Go ahead.
No, I think that's very perfect way to put it. But there is just a couple of messages that I want to just throw at you. Perhaps this may be something that SCCN should guide itself, because it is so much trying to change the mindset of young people in becoming transforming into net zero, because the net zero essentially happens first here in your mind, before it actually gets transformed into action, right? So one of the things that I say is, perhaps SCCN will start like talking about not discipline-based teaching, but about problem-based teaching. Why? See, everywhere they say that groundwater is depleting. Anywhere in the world, if you show me one course like bachelor's of groundwater depletion control, you will not find it. So what you will find is a potpourri of like subject where law, ecology, public health, gender, data, everything is put together, but they will not teach you to solve the problem. So the discipline-based teaching is happening, but problem-based teaching is not happening. So perhaps this is one thing that SCCN could promote, and I basically think that. The second thing, I think that the hands-on learning is not at all available. So I think this some kind of infrastructure needs to be with the university. See, you go to a university, say in Chhattisgarh, for example, in India. These guys do not have a proper lab, and you say that okay, you would tomorrow you will in fact go and build a lab or something like that. So first let us in fact we have to go and try to somehow create that lab. It's not that the money is not there. Money is there. But the thing is that, the ability for the faculty or the school to ask, what is needed for them, that is not there. So perhaps, SCA and SCCN could also kind of, change its work along that line. The third thing is to somehow, universities are in fact, working in isolation. How about, like SCCN somehow, and I see that Dr. Zhang is there. Can universities be linked to water institutes and the utilities? So the thing is that whatever knowledge comes out of the university gets directly utilized by the by these private companies. So that, I think, university water utility say connection is rather like weak happening. The another point, which I think, I can also provide something. I've already said that, if you have got good students, and if they want to do internship training elsewhere, I think, see, China has established a training seat program. We can in fact go and then ask that, we want a person like this. They go and they look for it. And they ask students to apply for it, and they are sent, not for a long time, for about 7 to 8 months. They come and they work with us. They get trained. When they go back, they go back with a different, say mindset altogether. So that's another thing. So we will have to somehow also look at these, and we are very much receptive of this idea. If there is any students that you have, who are looking for internship possibility, will be more than happy to create that platform for the students to come and then do something very good. Another point, that I see is next year's report will be on exactly the same day. Next year's, World Water Day will be on water and health. So it will be essentially like, deep diving in this in the context that we are discussing today, that is water and gender equality, because I think you will agree with me that, and we have said all along, women are more and disproportionately impacted by health consequences of water pollution, unavailability of water, you name it, or including the new contaminant, that is coming out for PFAS, for example, that impacts, women more than men. So I think, let us also, think about, how the knowledge that university creates can be siphoned into the next or 2027 edition of United Nations World Water Development Report. I stop here, and I will in fact, take your suggestion, and then I'm here to help.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Banu. Very good. I think I'm very pleased with your summary. Very encouraging, and probably provides not only to me, but to Professor Bernex, Dr. Zhang, and Professor Bologo, and also to Leon Shen. And there are two more people which were not introduced, probably did. Maria Gracia from Lima, Peru, who is coordinating the activities of SCCN in Latin America. And we have a Sachin, who is organized this combination of YouTube, which has been seen by various audience in various countries. We will come to know how many of them that are done. But I think there were very interesting questions which came to us from them in the form of emails and all those things. But in all, I know it was extremely difficult to organize it, not only because of the technical problems we had, but even the timing. For example, Mr. Zhang and Leon Shen probably are now nearing to the midnight in China, right?
Right.
Yes, right. And then we have an early morning in Lima. And now in the USA, I think Banu woke up and he didn't have a time to read what is happening in Iran and Hormuz Strait. So he straightway came here instead of looking at the straight news, But anyway, thank you very much for all your efforts and very thoughtful presentation. And I want to assure you a simple thing, that I don't believe in a talks. And our basic smart campus cloud network is not a talk shop at all, except for such webinar. But such webinar also gives out the messages on action. So I think we are going to stick to it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Leon, you want to say a couple of words before you disappear?
Yeah, a few words.
Yes, go ahead.
Because myself alone visited or field research or participated field research volunteer expedition in Peruvian Amazon in Pacaya Samilia National Reserves for 13 times in past 15 years. So I'm very happy that Dr. Nicholas talked about Amazon and the Amazon River water resources and the local communities treatment. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Maria, you have some couple of sentences?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think Miss Mamuna wants to speak.
Yes, but only to say something, because what about Dr. said, I think that beyond monetary aspect, cooperation between universities in the Global South is an important and essential in order to better address development issues that are specific for a South country. Because sometimes we know that we are talking about the global situation, but we have, as this kind of topic, we have to address also South issues. And I think that this kind of cooperation is very, very important. Thank you for giving us a flower for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Sachin. In spite of all these technical problems, he has managed it, the two fronts. Sachin, you have any word to say? Hello? Sachin, you are mute. No, I think he has. Yes, go ahead. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sachin. So, Durga, if you are still there, Sachin, you can mute your, okay. Durga, if you are still there, the final words are you, and then we close.
So my final words would be very simple. I'm a project leader in Green Tech Foundation, and I've been working in Smart Campus Cloud Network for almost 5 years. So whatever we discuss the idea, it's my responsibility now to execute them in the university campus and to guide the students, build their capacity so that these ideas can be taken by the students and they can implement in their campuses. So that would be my responsibility.
Thank you. And just for information for all of you, particularly Bhanu, that Durga is part-time studying on disaster management at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So I think water is going to be the next disaster. I'm joking, but probably that management also is an important thing for you to do it. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And Bhanu, thank you for your leadership. And we depend on you. We'll come back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Dr. Nicole Pernis. Thank you. Thank you, madam.